Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Legacy Running Podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Sarah, and today I'm really excited to go through 5 things that help get you out of hip pain that actually work, things that actually make a difference with getting you out of hip pain. And honestly, it's probably not what you think. And let me just attack the elephant in the room. If you're watching the visual of this, we've reached the season where I can't get out of my winter coat anymore. Like I'm just always in a puffy because it's cold. So don't judge me. It's winter. You guys know how it goes. But getting back on track, I have had a really, I don't want to say challenging, but like unique year where a lot of the gals that I have worked with this year have been a little bit less, we'll say, mechanical in their hip pain. They've had other factors that have really perseverated or kind of increased their hip pain. And I just really want to bring light to this. Like, of course, we'll go over kind of the classic, strength training and stretching, but I want to bring to light other things that can actually make a difference with getting out of hip pain, besides just having like the perfect exercise program. Because honestly, guys, like pain is a multifactorial activity. The way that we experience pain in our body, the way that we have processed pain in the past is really, really unique to each of us. And one of my largest pet peeves is like looking on Instagram and they're like, the 5 things that will, or it's not even the 5 things. It's like this one stretch unlocked my low back and changed my life forever. And like you'll look at these things and it's like, okay, let me like pull back the curtain a little bit here. In making social media content, like oftentimes social media gurus or, coaches or whatever will tell you, go to the viral page, and kind of see what's hitting, like not necessarily like copying it, but just like, what are the trends that are kind of hitting right now? And in my niche, so hip pain for runners, there are often the one exercise that unlocked my low back and helped me get better forever. Like that is a really big trend. There'll be like a million, views on this one kind of reel or whatever. And I can't recreate that. I can't recreate it because ethically it's not true. Like there is not going to be one stretch or one exercise that completely took away your pain and changed your life forever, because that's just not how this works. Like maybe like for me, there's 2 things that feel really great for me if I'm in a flare up, but that took months, if not a year, of really fine tuning what worked best for me to have the best results and have longstanding relief of my hip pain. But like, I can't get on this trend, or I can't hop on this bandwagon of the 2 stretches that unlocked my hip and allowed me to run forever, because that's just not true. So today I want to peel back the curtain. I want to share with you guys some of the things that I'm seeing that are working really well for my Empower Hip coaching clients to really get out of pain, to stay out of pain, and to maintain running, and to really feel like they're in control again. So without further ado, let's get into this. And I'm still going to break this down into kind of my 3 sections. Like I really think of somebody getting back to running or somebody getting back to cycling or lifting or whatever it is in a 3-part system. I'm always like, discover what's going on, develop those specific impairments, and then deploy back into the activity or the thing that you want to do with a new sense of like, oh, I have a deeper foundation. I know what the things are that bother me. And you can kind of slowly titrate up to different levels, whether that's like meaning, like, let's be practical here. If I'm deploying back into something, I'm not just going to go 3 miles a week to an ultra marathon. Like if I'm deploying back into running consistently and training for something, like I need to have a progressive training plan. And maybe I'm starting with something like a half marathon just to build confidence. And then I'm like, let's go do this ultra marathon. Or maybe I'm building into, 3 or 4 50-minute runs a week or 4 30-minute runs a week. And my ultimate goal is to be able to run like 5 miles on the weekend or 10 miles on the weekend with my siblings or whatever it is. Like I get a lot of you guys don't want to race, and some of you also do want to race. So that's why I try to be inclusive to both, and just speak to both y'all, because both y'all type of people matter. So number 1, one of the first things that I think really makes a large difference with getting out of pain is identify what makes you feel worse. I know that sounds really simple or maybe arbitrary, but like that's huge. In the Empower Hip program, we have this week 1, we have this thing, it's called the heat sheet. So it's my hip easers, aggravators, and my tolerance. So what are the things that make me feel better? What are the things that make me feel worse? And what is my actual tolerance to the thing that I want to do? If it's running, can I run for 20 minutes? Can I run for 5 minutes? Can I run for an hour without pain? Like what is like my actual tolerance? Let's just name it. Let's be honest with this. And with identifying what makes you feel better and what makes you feel worse, you can actually start to gain power and be like, oh, I'm actually like not in pain all the time. It's just when I'm doing X, or I am in pain all the time, but when I do this, it makes it a lot worse. Having those levers that we can push and pull are going to be really helpful to actually make a meaningful change. If you are like, I want to get better at Spanish, but you don't actually know what level you're at, once you start to practice and then you maybe go to retest, you're not going to have anything to compare it against. Like we need to actually know where you are to actually make a meaningful difference. And I'm just going to say this, like this lever pulling system is not something that you're going to get from, should I even say this? Should I even say this? This is not something that you're going to get from like an orthopedic assessment. Okay. I'm not saying that orthopedic assessments are wrong. I love them. I love when my clients get them. I love knowing what's going on, but like knowing that you feel better doing side planks and that you feel worse sitting for 30 minutes, like that level of specificity is not going to be uncovered and unlocked in those assessments. So that's just food for thought of like what levers can be pulled to move forward. So discover, we really want to identify what makes you feel worse. And I'm actually going to break this into 3 sections. So these are the 5 things that you could do to actually make a difference with hip pain. Number 1, let's go into maybe one that you guys are maybe the most familiar with, and that's going to be like the actual movements at my hip. So I'm going to call this like the movement patterns at my hip. Improving your movement patterns at your hip can make such a big difference with improving your hip pain. So let's think about it this way. Oftentimes people are like, I need to strengthen my glutes. I need to strengthen my glutes. I need to strengthen my glutes. My glutes aren't firing. I need to strengthen, like, this is my life, like people are like, my glutes are not firing. And I'm like, okay, they're firing, but like, I get what you're trying to say. Like you're trying to say your hips in pain and that's what you think that you need to do. Really, honestly, sometimes over recruiting your glutes and trying to do all this glute work can actually make your hip pain feel worse. One thing that I've really seen with hips that have exposure to being labral torn or having impingement or having hip dysplasia or having tendinitis or tendinopathy or whatever is that you guys don't necessarily have amazing movement around this hip. And this is not a you problem. This isn't your fault. Okay. What we see if someone has an injury, like if I sprain my ankle, what we see if they're not properly rehabbing that ankle, like after doing the sprain, we start to see the body compensate. And it says, well, this doesn't work as efficiently. It's kind of like, because it's in pain, it is not keeping up with the rest of what we need to do. So we're just going to kind of like keep going. Like we're going to keep going and we're just going to kind of let that ankle like do its thing. And we're just going to kind of keep pulling forward. So instead of having a ton of dorsiflexion or bending in the ankle and having like a ton of push-off strength, maybe I'm going to start to overcompensate with my hip flexor so my ankle doesn't have to bend as much, and then I can kind of pull my leg through faster and more efficiently. So boom, we start to see a change in the recruitment pattern because there was an insult or injury. Your body's smart like that. It wants to move forward and not waste time with your bum ankle. Maybe that happened to you in high school. Maybe that happened to you in your 20s, okay? Had the ankle thing, and then maybe you had a kid and now, your pelvis feels kind of off, and then you irritated your back after, lifting said kid out of the crib 17 million times. So now you kind of have this like bum ankle, irritated hip, kind of irritated low back situation. And now we have all of these different things that are going. And then you're 35 and you're like, I want to start getting back into running. I want to run consistently. And you're like, my hip really hurts. Okay, well, what's your movement pattern around that hip? We ask you to squat into that thing and you're like offloading that thing like it's no one's business. Like, let's say it's your right hip, you're like listing to the left. We ask you to go on a single leg, you're like wobbling all over the place. We ask you to go into a single leg squat. It's really hard for you to maintain the control on that side. Your shoulders are really far over that hip. Okay, we're starting to unlock the picture here of your right hip isn't doesn't have as stable and coordinated movement patterns compared to your left hip. And then therefore, maybe that's why you're getting some excess compression. We're getting increased rubbing of the hip joint in the socket, and then we're getting that tearing of that labrum. Okay, great. Like, let's just improve your movement patterns and then train you back to the things that you want to do. That's like one of the top things that I do in the Empower Hip program. And an example of this, I recently had Dr. Jenna Lower on the podcast, and she works with dancers. And dancers are like just classic labral tear hip impingement gals, because they often have to be in these really crazy positions, which cause a lot of stress at the hip itself. And potentially they're more mobile, they're more hypermobile, and they don't really have control at those end ranges. So then we see increased compression, less control, and we're putting more impact into the joint, and then they're starting to get pinching and irritation in their joint. So she gets them into these positions, like she'll have them do a squat or a rock back or whatever, and they're like, or let me say this, she'll have them do like a deep rock back, so hands and knees, rock back. They can get all the way back into the socket, no pain. She's like, well, you're doing a deep squat right now. You're basically doing a deep squat right now because you're compressing your leg, your hip all the way into the edge of the socket. But when you stand up and do a deep squat, you actually can't control it in the same way. Therefore, you're having like mechanical hip pain. So my first thing of what's actually going to make a difference is like, let's figure out what your mechanical compensations are. Like, let's figure out what your movement patterns are that are maybe faulty, and let's work on those specifically. And we can make a remarkable difference, because you can only imagine with running really just lays all of our cards out on the table. Maybe I can get away with different movement patterns and compensations for, 1 to 2 miles. But if I'm getting into that 3-4 mile mark, I'm running more consistently throughout the year, that can really add up, out the week or a couple of months, that can really add up, and I can start to develop like hip pain into my hip joint or my muscles or whatever it is that is irritating me. So number one is going to be identifying like if there is movement patterns off at that hip. And honestly, guys, like, I don't recommend doing this yourself. I don't get it seen. Like, go to a physical therapist that works with runners, that works with hip pain, that can like look at you from this, perspective. This is the primary thing that we do in the Empower Hip program, is from a coaching perspective. What is your movement patterns like, and how can we improve that with specific strength exercises? So number one, address the movement pattern. Number two, in this kind of like identify what makes you feel worse situation, is just like pattern recognition / awareness. Okay. Again, sounds so annoying, but knowing what actually makes you feel worse is going to put you back into control so you can kind of move forward. Okay. Let me give you another example here. So one of my clients, she's the best. She has all of it. She has movement pattern issues. So she is super tight on that side. She's also the next thing that we'll talk about, but this thing is hers. She knows that every time she ovulates, she has increased hip pain. She has hip pain, low back pain, glute pain. That side gets really tight on her. She's kind of like a hypertonic person in through that pelvic floor, and she's worked with pelvic floor PT. She knows this. Okay. She knows the things to do to loosen it. She knows through working with pelvic floor PT and through the Empower Hip program, what are the things that she can do in her day-to-day to loosen this. But she knows that during that period of ovulation, she gets pain. Okay. So when she is in that phase and she starts to get pain, she knows, okay, these are the two things that I can do to dampen this. And you know what they look like? They look like warm up for her lifting plan. They look like cool down for her after her run. So she's not adding 17 things to her day. It's 2 things. Can be down to 1, can certainly be down to 1. I made sure of that because I didn't want her to feel overwhelmed by doing that. But it's something like a side lying open book, or she does kind of like a twisting forward lunge situation that just helps her get loosened through that area. She uses breath to like increase the extensibility. And it's very tailored to her, and she knows that makes her feel better. But she also just knows, like, imagine if every month you had increased hip pain and you were like trying to run more, or you were trying to lift more, and you were just like, well, it's probably because of that. It's probably because of that. It's probably because I'm just running. I'm just running more. So that's why. Okay, maybe, I don't know, maybe, but like she knows that it's due to that, regardless of if she's increasing volume, staying the same, lifting more, lifting less, if she's sick, if she's healthy, she always gets that. It's different intensity every month, but like that's just what she gets. And she knows how to manage it and how to combat it quickly. Okay. So awareness is amazing. Another example of awareness, this was me. Hello. I know for a fact for me, when I have to sit in really closed positions, it hurts my hip like nobody's business. I am also like a kind of tight person on that, my labral torn side. And if I have to sit on like a bleacher chair, like a closed, like a baseball situation where it's like a deeper bucket close together, it makes me, it just bothers me. Can I do it? Yes, of course. Do I know it's probably going to bother me? Maybe. Does that lead into maybe some fear? Yes, of course. But that bothers me. And yeah, that bothers me. So we'll just go with that. So a couple nights ago, I went to one of my friends' Christmas concerts, and my friends are in their 5 and 6. So I went to their Christmas recital, and a bunch of my friends who are in their 20s and 30s went to watch this concert. It was like a whole thing in our friend group. And one of them picked me up. So I sat in the back seat and I felt very cramped. Okay. And then I go to this Christmas concert. I'm sitting with multiple families, like in this row. I'm sitting next to my friend. Like I'm like very tight in this space. And it's like that deep bucket seat. And my pants are really tight. Like I just put them in the washer. So like, they're just so tight. I'm like ovulating, like everything just feels so tight. And I'm like, my hip is so painful right now. Like it was just so tight, so painful. I didn't do anything. Like I lifted that day. I didn't like run or anything that day, like nothing out of the ordinary, but just that slew of circumstances of being in those tight confined spaces irritated my hip to no end. And I just was like, okay, like, I know that this is an aggravator for me. I've done so much work to improve my hip, but I just know that this is an aggravator for me. And that's okay, And I made it to the concert. I stood for a little and then I went back in the car and I was like, whatever, I'm going to get home. It's going to be fine. Literally took my pants off, TMI, laid on the couch, felt amazing. Literally pain went away. Like, I just knew, like I just had this awareness that this is an aggravator. This is something that was really important to me. I wanted to go to this thing. It's worth it to sit in the car and be uncomfortable, whatever. And then I came home and I didn't have as severe pain. Like just knowing why things were so painful for me is honestly half the battle, and like calming the anxiety and just knowing that you can like make it through. And this isn't going to be like a forever thing. So number 2 is just awareness. Like if there are certain cycles, patterns in your life, I do believe that these can get better. Like I have made it through a full football game. I've made it through a full baseball game without any hip pain. Like, let me tell you that, but like that night was just unique. And I just know that's an aggravator and it helped me move through that. I do believe these things can get better, but sometimes just knowing what our aggravators are can be really helpful so that we can just know and tell our brain, it's fine. Like, it's fine. You're not irritating anything long-term. It's okay. So that's number 2 is awareness. The jacket is coming off. Number 2 is awareness. Number 3 is identifying the stressors that can make your hip pain worse. Okay. Like I said earlier, guys, the TikToks, the YouTube videos, the Instagram reels of this exercise changed my life is fine, but it's only part of the picture, okay? We do not live in a vacuum of our hip being in this mechanical socket. And if I move too much, it's going to get pinchy and then it's going to get irritated, okay? We also live in a world where our stress is going to influence our pain. Now, let me walk you through an example right now. If I told you that pick a body part that you have, like, you've never injured, like, I don't know, your finger, your shoulder, whatever. Tomorrow morning, you have a huge meeting that you need to do. like a huge, like you are like presenting to the presentations of all presentations. Okay. This is the biggest meeting of your life. And it's tomorrow. And you just found out. So you're probably going to have to stay up all night working on this. And you also have shoulder pain or finger pain, whatever. Like you hurt, last night you fell and you hurt your shoulder. Okay. Hurt your shoulder or whatever part of your body has not been injured. What are you like? How are you feeling? Is your heart beating? Are you like, put yourself in this situation? You have to stay out all night to make a presentation to something that's very important to you. And you tripped and hurt X body part and it's going to be in pain tomorrow morning. Are you sweating? Like, are you nervous? Like, do you feel like yourself clenching? Is your jaw clenching? Is your pelvic floor tensing? Like, how are you feeling? Okay. Scenario A. Okay. Number 2. Same thing. You're doing the presentation of all presentations and you're going to wake up tomorrow morning and your hip is going to be 10 out of 10. Like it's just going to be absolutely flared up. How are you feeling? Or like what are you focused more on? Like really put yourself in that scenario. You wake up, it didn't really hurt that bad last night. You woke up in the morning, so much pain. Okay. Like you're probably not only spiraling about what did I do to my hip? What happened? Maybe you have increased hip pain as I'm talking about this. Do you have increased pain in the body part that you didn't have pain in? But in scenario 2, maybe you're spiraling about your hip because you're like, what did I do? What did I do in my sleep? What did I do in my sleep? I probably injured it more. I probably tore it more. There's more tearing, you know? And you're like, I have to make this presentation. I have to give this presentation today. Like, this is crazy. You can see how the like heightened level of stress, if you've had trauma, pain, something to an area, can increase the like visceral response of having pain, of having increased stress, of having increased anxiety, versus if you're like, okay, my shoulder's going to hurt. Like, it's fine, whatever. It's fine. Like, it's fine. Okay. Another example that I often think about is like, I've sprained my ankle so many times in high school, like so many times. If I sprained my ankle, like I had done it a couple of times, like later in life. And I just was like I had such a response to it because I had like so many times that I sprained it that it was like awful. Like it kind of makes me feel nauseous even thinking about it. Versus like if you were like, Sarah, you're going to step your finger, I'll be like, whatever. Like, I don't even care. Like having the past trauma to something can make it 10 times worse when we're feeling stressed or when we're thinking about that thing, because your body has the neuroplasticity to go there. Like you have gone there so many times before. Some of this, like when you drive to somewhere you've gone, you don't even need to like get the maps up. You just go. Like your brain just knows how to go to hip pain, versus when you're going somewhere new or you have finger pain or something pain that you've never had before, your body's like, I don't really know how to create this yet. Like we haven't been there. So when you have periods of increased stress, it can largely increase pain in the areas that you've had pain. So an example with one of my clients is I had a gal who was working with me and like, mechanically, like she had some, things that were off with her movement patterns and whatnot, but like homegirl just was like, do something and get so painful after and it wasn't even exercises. Like it was just like this dramatic response to pain. And I really noticed that it was like, she was very stressed with work. She had like an increase in stress with work, and she always felt better on the weekends. She always had a goal of doing like a park run on the weekend, and she was able to do it way better on the weekend because she wasn't working, and during the work day, she would just work from home, work all day, like literally all day, like not take a single break, work so many hours, and was just sitting at her desk and would have increased hip and back pain on those days. 1, mechanically, she's not moving around, but 2, like she had a history of hip and back pain, this increased period of stress with work bothering her. So I was like, you know what? I was like, I really think that mechanically, yes, you're doing the good work, but like 2, I think we need to do something to target this work hygiene, stress hygiene situation. Like throughout the day, I need you to like, what sounds good to you? Like, do you want to walk, where you're just not focusing on work? Do you want to do some deep breathing where you're like targeting parasympathetic and like getting a chill moment? You're like getting decompressed with your back with certain positions we can get in. Do you want to play with your dog? Like, is that something that's enjoyable to you? So she chose breathing, and we started putting these breathing twice a day, one to two times a day, remarkable increase in her pain or decrease in her pain, like improvement in her symptoms. And it just goes to show, guys, like if stress is a big thing, and it can be relative. Like if you're just feeling more stressed about your pain, you can increase your pain. If you're feeling more stressed about other things, like you can increase it. And I know that maybe sounds annoying. Like if someone said that to me, I'm like, well, like I can't like control my stress. You know what I mean? But you can control what you're doing with it. Like maybe it is like I know I have this stressful meeting that I need to go through. So I'm going to ensure that I'm going to go for a walk during my lunch hour. Like I'm not going to talk to anybody about anything. Like where I'm going for a walk and I'm blocking my schedule. Like go. Like I used to have to do things during my lunch hour when I worked in corporate healthcare, and I was like, no, I'm not getting paid for this. So like I'm not doing that. Or like I would be like, you know what, I have to cancel this time. Like this is in my salary. That's what I'll do. Like I'm like it's fine. Okay. Like just be bold and be like, no, I'm not doing that, and make time for yourself. There's so many ways that you can get pain relief and stress relief via things that are salient to you, like playing with your kids, reading a book, like going for a walk, doing running, like all the things. There are ways you can do this. So to recap the first three things, 5 things that actually make a difference is like discover what is actually making you feel worse. If it's increased periods of stress, okay, what's the plan that we're going to be to combat that? Number 2, what are the things that actually make you feel worse? You know, maybe just throughout your day. Is it sitting in those close positions? Is it ovulation? Awareness around those things is amazing. Literally just awareness can do so much. And then also kind of helps whoever you're working with create a plan for you. And then number 3 is a movement pattern. So improving the movement patterns can decrease irritability at a certain joint, muscle, tendon, ligament level. Okay, number four, which is going to be under our second section. So I talked about discover what's going on, develop a specific plan, and then deploy back into what you're going into. In this develop phase, it's really important to have a progressive plan. Okay. So if I've identified that I have, let's say I've had like a movement compensation thing, like me personally, I'm really poor with stability over my right leg. It's really hard for me to control rotation over that side. And I know that if I'm in like a really closed position, that really, really bothers me. So I need to have a progressive plan that is not requiring me to do all of the things. Okay. I'm about to say something so groundbreaking to some of you that you could probably just stop the podcast after this. Doing all of the things is not making you better. Okay. I have a client who I laid out her plan for her. I was like, this is what I want you to do. This is what I want you to do 3 times, like literally Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, hip exercises, 20 minutes. That's it. After that, you're going to go for your run. I don't know, it's like 15, 20 minutes. We'll say that. So that's your session. Tuesday, Thursday, you like to lift? Great. We're going to do an upper body and a full body lift. The other days, you're going to go for a walk. The other day, you're going to rest. Okay. That is your plan. That's all you need to do. She comes back to me I don't know, like the next week and is like sobbing, like literally crying because she's like, I'm trying not to sit here. I'm like ensuring that I'm like doing all of these exercises all of the time. I'm like trying not to stress out about these things. I'm like trying not to do this. And I'm like, I think that you're making yourself more stressed out because you're trying to do all of the right things for every every minute of the day. And it's actually not things that are helping you. Like an example is like, I'm trying to not sit in this certain position, because I think that that's going to make me feel worse. Like we don't even know that's a real aggravator, but like, that's just like, or like I'm trying to sit with really good posture because I think that's going to make me feel better. Okay. And I literally just had to be like, I never told you that you needed to sit in the perfect posture all the time to get better. I never said you needed to be doing all these exercises all the time to feel better. I was like, these stimuluses, you have a mechanical issue and kind of like a stress issue. And I was like, these stimuluses are enough to help with your mechanical issue. And then these bouts of exercise that are salient to you that you enjoy doing are going to help with the stress. And then the rest of your life, you just live it. Okay. Like you just go do the things, and it's okay if you're not sitting in the perfect position. It's okay if you didn't do your exercises, 17 times a day or twice a day or 3 times a day. Like, it's okay. Like, and I literally had to explain that to another client today. She was like, yeah, I'm just making sure that I'm sitting up nice and tall because you said that in one of my exercises, I slouch. So I'm trying not to slouch with any of my exercises. And I'm trying to make sure that when I'm at work, my back is like perfectly straight because you said that my back needs to be straight with this one exercise. And I said, stop. That's not going to help you. You're going to be perseverating on all these things that you're doing all day, and then you're not going to feel worse. And then when you get in pain, you're going to be so irritated that you're in pain because you did all these things all day. I said, I told you that your back needs to be open with this one exercise. So when you're doing it 3 times a week, that's what I want to see. Your back needs to be straight with this one. It was like a deadlift, like, of course your back needs to be straight. You're just going to do it with that exercise. If you're thinking about sitting up straight all day and standing up tall all day, there's too much mental energy. Like, you can't do that. And you're going to be so hard on yourself when you don't achieve that. And let me tell you, it's impossible. Okay. So whatever your things are, whatever like your levels are that are irritating you, what is your progressive plan? Okay. Like if you are, let me just like go through an example here. One of my clients, she had hip surgery. She had 2 hip surgeries to replace, to do an arthroscopic labral repair. And post-surgery, she went to PT and just like kind of got back into heavy lifting, but was still having hip flexor pain like all the time. Like she was like, I'm always in hip flexor pain. Like it's always on, it's always there. So her things were mechanical. Like she had this like mechanical, like her hip just she didn't really know how to like recruit outside of her hip flexor. We'll say that's area number 1. And then she also just was like stressed about the process. Like she was like, I'm really nervous to get back into running because I'm not comfortable with, just standing, and I'm not comfortable with all of these things. So for her, our progressive plan included, okay, what are exercises that help you turn off your hip flexors? Like, what are the 2 to 3 things that help you turn them off? Okay, we found those exercises. We progressed those week by week by week. Sometimes she was like, this is not it. This one's not helping. Okay, took it out. Put a different one in. Is that one helping? Yes. Okay, week by week by week. This one's no longer helping. Okay, took it out. Okay, put a new one in. Week by week by week. She has 3 things that she does. Well, she kind of has 5 things, but 2 are strength training, one's like kind of accessory, and it works in her schedule, and that's what she can handle. It works in her schedule, and that's what she can handle. It's 3 times a week, even 2 times a week, that she's turning off her hip flexors. Okay. That's number 1. We're progressing her program so she's not stressed about it 24 hours of the day. She's thinking about it 3 times a week for 20 to 30 minutes. That's it. Okay. Number 1, that's her plan. Number 2, we slowly, progressively built up running. She started with 2 by 10 minutes of running because she was nervous. And I was like, great, let's start conservative. 2 by 10 minutes of running. We've built up to 2 30-minute runs per week. And she does a bunch of other lifting activities and whatnot. She's building up confidence. The running does not make her hip flexor feel worse. Okay. Great. Amazing. Her stress / awareness. She has a lot of increased pain with standing. She lives in a big city, so she has to stand a lot, and just the static standing, she can feel her hip flexor on all the time. Worse in stressful days, worse if she has to stand for longer. So we really worked on finding different standing postures that allow her to turn off that hip flexor. It took a long time. Okay. It took a while for us to really find that out. Side note, that's why I don't do one-off sessions, because it took us 9 weeks to figure out what would be the best standing position for her. And that was built by a case of working together for a long period of time. But so we found that in standing, she could stand in this one position, and this would be a lot more comfortable for her if she had to stand on the subway platform, if she had to stand for a long meeting at work or whatever. Okay. we had a plan that targeted each of her major buckets, and that was not all encompassing, all consuming. It was simple, effective. She saw the results. We anticipate and we expect there to be periods of flare ups or periods of things not feeling amazing, but she kind of had a plan to overcome that. And then now she is running consistently and is experiencing less hip flexor recruitment all the time, and has plans to continue to progress her running and lifting without hip flexor recruitment. So a specific develop plan, a specific progressive plan that targets each of the things that's going through with you. And that's what we need to do. Okay, so number 4 is a progressive plan that kind of targets your buckets. And then, guys, last thing is like, how are you going to stay out of pain? Okay, like let's say you do this, like you identified what's wrong. Okay, you've created a plan and you've progressed through it and you're feeling a lot better. Maybe not perfect, but you're feeling a lot better. How are you going to maintain this? Okay. This is something that I'm going through with my October cohort of the Empower Hit program. As I'm recording this, we're on week 11. So next week's going to be our last week of the program. Made serious gains in this program. These girls came in running 0 to like 20 minutes a week. They're running 40, 50, 30 minutes, like multiple times per week, and are considering 5K. No one's even considering 5K, 10K, half marathon and marathons in 2026 or even early 2027. And that's just the power. That's the power of the program. But we are talking about now, okay, you've made marked progress. You know what bothers you. You have this developed plan. Now that you're back into running consistently and you're maybe training for that 10K, or maybe you just want to run consistently, or maybe you want to do, something later in the year, but you want to maintain your base that you created. Okay, how are you going to maintain? Like, I think strength training, so having a plan to maintain, is what I'm telling you. Discharge is a lie, graduation is a lie from anything, and you need to have something to maintain. Like I didn't just graduate PT school and was like, well, we're good. Like I need to have continuing education to like make sure I don't get dumb. Strength training helps you maintain. So I'm walking my clients through, okay, you can't do the same strength exercises that I gave you. Like you need to have something that's going to be progressed and changed, on a schedule, like every 6 to 8 weeks, maybe even every 12 weeks, depending on what season you're in. Like what are we following? You need to make sure that you're not overdoing it. Like you can't just run a bajillion miles a week one week and then 0 the next, and then a bajillion the next. And then like I recently have a client who wants to train she wants to do a 5-miler, and she literally was telling me that she doesn't want to run before it. Like she was like, oh, I'm probably going to do my HIIT training instead. And I was like, how is that training for you? How is that setting you up for your goal? Like, how is that setting you up for success? So we need to have a plan to like progressively work us towards things that we want to do. And then if we are a person that like if we know that we have a tendency to like spiral, get stressed out about having hip pain, like how are we, like, what's our plan? Like, what's our order of operations? Like, are you going to do a couple exercises that feel good? You're going to give it a couple days. If you still don't feel better, then you reach out to your PT. Like what is this plan for you? And one of my clients, I think, is just doing such a good job in her maintain phase. This is a gal who's working with me in my coaching program, and she's like a one-on-one kind of coaching client, and she went through the Empower Hit program and just crushed it. And she was like, and I'm not saying that you need to do this, but she was like, I just want you to be the person that's maintaining for me. Like, she's like, tell me how much I need to run. Tell me what strength training I need to do. And then if I'm spiraling, I just know that I can text you. And I was like, perfect, great. And she, in 2025, ran her first half marathon. Right now she's kind of in like a endurance build block, just to like, I shouldn't say endurance build block. She's kind of in like a base block, but we're working on like improving her overall like aerobic capacity, which is really fun. And then she's going to aim for another half marathon in September. So she's staying consistent with strength training. She's staying out of pain with doing that. She, and there's niggles that come up here and there. Okay. That's fair. She's getting them checked out if she needs to. She is consistently running, and then she's attacking her goals by consistently running. And then she's had a stressful year, like things that I'm like, I wouldn't wish on anybody. And she knows that that is something that can like kind of add to her pain level. So she's managing that with therapy and family and support. So those are the things that I think can actually make a difference with your pain. Maybe it is a stretch or an exercise, but it's also really identifying what makes you worse, whether it's stress, awareness of specific things like ovulation or sitting in closed positions, or is it like specific movement patterns, or is it a little bit of each? Oftentimes it is. Once we've identified what's going on, we need that progressive plan that attacks the things that are pertinent to you, that does not feel stressful to you and feels efficient and doable in your daily life. And then we need that deploy phase. So once you're feeling good and you're kind of back into what you're going to do, how are you going to maintain that? Just getting back to the surface is not what we're looking for. We want you to be able to get to whatever goal you have. If it's running consistently or doing a race or whatever, you want to be able to get you to that with confidence. These 3 steps: discover, develop, deploy, are the biggest thing. This is the Empower HIT program. This is what we do. We take you through your discover phase with you. We go through this develop phase, give you a progressive strength and run coaching program. We also talk about the external elements of like stress or awareness of different positions and postures, or, aggravators for you. And then we really talk about the deploy phase for this January cohort that is coming up, which doors are open for. So if you're listening to this, I would apply literally as soon as possible. People are applying like mad. The certain monetary discounts are going to decrease as we get closer to January. And applying does not lock you into anything. We'll have a chat. I will give you a couple strategies based off of where you think you are. We'll see if the Empower HIT program is a good fit, and you're welcome to join after that call if we both think it's a good fit. But for this cohort, I'm really excited because we're going to map out all of 2026. I actually just did this last night with my last cohort for the first time, kind of the trial. And this year, for the January cohort, at the end, we're really going to map out the whole year. Like, what's your plan? Like, is this going to be your year that you're going to push for something that you've never done before, or push for an old goal? Or is this your year that you're going to run when you want to run, and you're going to have periods of rest, and you're going to recover and take time off and not get burnt out? Or is this the year that you're going to join a run club or run with your friends or run with your coworkers? Like, what is this year going to be? And like the gals that sign up and go through this program, they're going to know with confidence. So if you've listened and you're like, oh my gosh, Sarah, like, I need a plan that's efficient and effective for me, that is concise to my schedule, doesn't make me feel overwhelmed, apply. The link is in the show notes. Again, we'll just chat, hang out. You're not locked into anything, but the monetary discounts are declining as we get closer to the January 19th start date. And the first 5 gals that join will get an extra one-on-one session with me. Those are already dwindling. So I hope that you apply. I hope I get to meet you. And as always, if you guys have any questions, reach out to me.